Hi everybody, my name is Simo. I work in a company called Barona, and like already said, my topic today is to discuss about our common API that we have been building a couple of years now. And the scope of the discussion or talk today is more in the first phase of the project that I was more involved in, and now the bigger team has taken over the project. So I'm gonna go through that. Shortly about Barona, if everybody is not familiar with us, we are staffing company in Finland and market leader currently. We work also in Nordics and then other or overall in 10 markets around Europe, and we employ 30,000 people each year and train 350,000 people. So that's about what we do. But yeah, where we started the discussion with the common API was that we were having a bit of problem with our microservice architecture that we have been transforming like last 5 to 6 years now. And this was getting a bit chaotic since we had loads of SaaS solutions and all kinds of different serverless solutions and all kind of these minor services which were discussing with each other. And there was no common ways defined how to do authentication or authorization or anything like that. And teams pretty much figured it out while they were building it. And it slowed us down a bit, and it was very hard to monitor in the long run. And that's why we came up with the current CTO or 10 current CTO, the idea that let's build on one API that's well documented and we have lots of control, and there is simple access control for all of the teams to use and bring all of our services to that one. So then we started just building it. We had already tried out AWS API Gateway before, and it was pretty common pattern in our company at the time. So we picked that one and started to conceptualize the idea that bring every service behind this one API gateway and get the secure authentication and some simple authorization going and try to build it there. And one big thing that we were aiming in the project was creating like well-documented API that was consistent all around it or over the API, that the naming conventions are same and everything like that is same. And that was the big benefit in my mind that we gained from this project and documented pretty much all of our business concepts in that way. And also this brought us way better monitoring solution that we have previously had. And what kind of components we picked up there was that we picked up the API Gateway, the version 2, and combined with the Cognito and used that as an authentication. And the scope of the project at the time was that it was aimed to our internal developers and internal teams. So it was quite lightweight solution that we were aiming. And we had small team building this part. Then we combined with Lambda, and why we picked up Lambda for the API handling was that it enabled us to like format data in uniform way for the API, and we could then just integrate the Lambdas, all of the solutions that were under whether it was any SaaS application or some legacy private EC2 services in the VPCs or anything other, we could figure it out. And it was easy also to get it working between our multi-account model in AWS that way. And local development, we picked up at the time some CLI and combined it with CDK. And it was in the beta at the moment when we started using it, and well, it felt like beta since it was really hard to find the documentation for that kind of stuff. And but overall it worked. We get it working. And for the API documentation, we decided to go with the open API document that we hand wrote, since it was the best option at the time, since we wanted to document well all of the business concepts. For example, what we mean with employment, what kind of data objects there are. We could write comprehensive documentation, what they are meaning for us, and that kind of stuff. So, what we have learned from this? We, in this project, learned that some CLI wasn't a great option for this kind of project, since it wasn't really good for like developer experience and that kind of stuff. And initial project team got it working and were fine with it, but when the project moved on, we decided to go with the SSD framework. That's pretty awesome serverless framework that's just launched V2. And I would recommend that one for everybody looking use Lambda or serverless applications in AWS. And what made it easy to transform to that solution was that we were building already everything with the CDK, and we could reuse most of the CDK code that we have already built for this solution and just import it on top of the SSD. Another thing that we were figuring out was that way we use Cognito in this case was not maybe, or isn't maybe most scalable. So basically we create Cognito and use that with API Gateway. And for each of our internal applications who need to integrate to the solution, we create app client in Cognito. And that's really strict way to control it. It provides us quite easy to use and simple scoping and that kind of stuff, but not too granular level. And it also always requires us to like deploy a new version of the API Gateway configuration, since we need to give the API Gateway all of the app client IDs that are allowed to access the API Gateway. So that's something that we're figuring out now, that how to move forward when we have now loads of the applications on top of this service. And also one minor thing that we are figuring out, that since we are using Lambda endpoints, there might be timeouts in Lambda, and if the backend services are slow, it might cause like unexpected behavior on top of the API, and it can be sometimes quite hard to track how it works. But we have come up with pretty good solutions for that one, and are trying to control all the API calls in Lambdas that they time out before Lambda times out, so we can handle the errors correct way. So this was pretty much what we have come up with this first iteration. And this is ongoing project now, but this is what I was planning to discuss with you guys.